In the earlier sessions, we discussed about the different tools for decision making, right, like make or buy or export and import and this kind of things. Today, we will discuss few numerical problems related to decision making, right. So, this is our first problem. A company is at present working at 90% of its capacity and producing 13,500 units per annum. It operates a flexible budgetary control system. The following figures are obtained from its budget, right. Sales at 90%. So, you see two capacity levels are given. At 90% sales is 15 lakh and 16 lakh. Fixed expenses 3 lakh 500 and 3 lakh 500. It is not changing with the change in capacity utilization. Semi fixed expenses 97,500 and 1 lakh 500. Variable expenses 1 lakh 45 and 1 lakh 49,500. Units made 13,500 and 15,000. Labor and material cost per unit are constant under present conditions. Profit margin is 10%. What is the question? You are required to determine the differential cost of producing 1500 units by increasing capacity to 100%, right. What would you recommend for an export price of this 1500 units, taking into account that overseas prices are much lower than the indigenous prices? So, this is a problem about export order. So, if the currently first important point is the company is currently working under its full capacity, right, below its full capacity. It is working at 90% and it is producing 13,500 per annum. That means 100% capacity is around 15,000 units, right. So, 15,000 units, and these two levels 90% and 100% capacity levels, the sales, fixed expenses, semi fixed expenses, variable expenses and units made, this information are given, right. So, if it produces additional 1500 units, the question is that what would be the differential cost, right? What would be the differential cost, and if it is getting exported, then what is the price we could recommend? So, let us see. So, we can calculate it like this. So, here is the solution. So, here is the solution. So, sales at 90% capacity, it is 15 lakh, right. Less profit 10%, right, profit 10%. So, it is 15 lakh into 10%, that is 1 lakh 50. So, cost of goods sold, it is coming 13 lakh 50,000, right. Now, I can deduct the expenses. These expenses are, you see, they are given here, right. So, I can deduct the expenses. If I deduct the expenses, it will look like this. So, I am just scrolling it down. Sorry, I am just scrolling it down. You see, the fixed cost, it is given 3 lakh 500 here, right. Semi fixed expenses I can do, semi fixed 97,500, right, it is given in the question. Variable cost is 1 lakh 45. So, if you make the total, then it is coming to 5 lakh 43,000, right. So, cost of labor and material at 90 percent capacity, it is 8,07,000. Therefore, so it is at 90%, it is 8,07,000. Therefore, the labor and material at 100% capacity, it will be 8,07,000 into 100 by 90. So, it will be rupees 8,96,667, right. So, we calculated the cost at 90%. Now, we will do the differential analysis, differential cost analysis. Now, for differential cost analysis, we made two columns. First column is for 90%, second column is for 100%, and the difference between the two we are taking here as differential cost. So, at 90%, the number of units is 13,500 units, right, and at 100% the number of units is 15,000 units. So, material cost and labor we can take it from here. At 90% it is 8,07,000, right. At 100% we calculated here, it is 8,96,667. So, the difference between the two is 89,667, fine. Variable expenses 1,45,000 and 1,49,500, right. So, the difference is 4,500. Semi variable expense for 90% it is 97,500, right, and 100% capacity it is 1,05,000. So, the difference is 3,000. For fixed expenses, this will not change. The fixed expenses will remain same up to 100% capacity. So, fixed expenses I am taking 3,05,000 here and 3,05,000 here. So, difference is differential cost is 3,05,000. This will be 0, right. Differential cost here it will be 0. Now, if you add this, right, 89,667 plus 4,500 and 3,000, it comes to 97,167, right, 97,167. So, if you add 89,667 plus 4,500 plus this 6, 7, 6, 5, 11, 1, 1, 13, 17, 1, 7, yeah, 97,167, right. So, this is my differential cost. So, this differential cost is for 1500 units, right. For 1500 units, the differential cost is 97,167. So, what would be the minimum price of export? 97,167 divided by 1500, rupees 64.78, right. So, if the company plans to export, right, gets an export order from abroad, right, and it wants to utilize its idle capacity, then this price, at least this price may be suitable for him. Now, all this minimum price, that there is no addition to profit, hence any price above 64.78 per unit is acceptable, so that there may be some addition to profit. The minimum price of rupees 64.78 is acceptable only if there are no export charges, surplus capacity of 10% cannot be utilized for production of some other more profitable products, export price will have no effect on the indigenous market where the product will continue to get sold at old prices. Now, and sometimes the management is interested to operate the concern at full capacity, as there may be offer from the foreign country to purchase the goods, but at less price than is available from the local market. Under such circumstances, first of all, incremental revenues is calculated by deducting the existing sales from the proposed sales. Similarly, incremental cost is calculated by deducting existing cost from the proposed cost. incremental cost is matched against incremental revenue. If the incremental revenue is more than the incremental cost, the proposal should be accepted, otherwise not. Okay, fine. Okay. So, this was the first problem, right, on decision making. Now, we will move to the second problem. This is our second problem. The Murarka Private Limited, NASIC, is, let us make it bigger. Murarka Private Limited, NASIC, is currently operating at 80% capacity. The profit and loss account shows the following: particular sales rupees 640, and cost of sales, direct materials 200, direct expenses 80, variable overhead 40, fixed overhead 260. So, total is 580. So, profit is 60. The managing director has been discussing an offer from Middle East of a quantity which will require 50% capacity of the factory. The price is 10% less than the current price in the local market. Order cannot be split. You are asked by him to find out the most profitable alternative. The factory capacity can be augmented by 10% by adding facilities at an increase of rupees 40 lakhs in fixed cost, right. So, again this is an offer, right, from offer of export from the Middle East, right, and price is less, price is 10% less than the current price in the local market, and whether it should accept or not, right. Now, we can do it like this solution. Let us see the solution. If the offer from Middle East is accepted, then 50% of the production capacity will be utilized for processing this order, right. It is already operating at 80%, right. It is already operating at 80%, and but if the offer is accepted, then of course 50% capacity it will require. So, it needs to curtail the local production, right. So, processing this order, the balance of 50% capacity plus 10% augmented capacity, right. So, the factory capacity can be augmented by 10%, right, at an increase in fixed cost, that is 40 lakhs. So, that is the condition. So, the balance of 50% capacity plus 10% augmented capacity at an additional cost of 40 lakhs will be available for local sales. So, now it is 60 plus 50, right. The incremental revenue and differential cost compared below to know whether the order should be accepted or not, right. So, we will see that if it is accepted, what would be my cost, right, and what if I won't accept, what is my cost, and what is whether my profit is increasing or not, how much increment I am getting in revenue and how much difference I am getting in cost. So, here is the solution. Proposed sales, right, local is 60, right, for 80% of the value of the sales is 640 lakhs. Therefore, for 60% value of sales will be 640 into 60 by 80. Right. So, it comes to, if we calculate, it comes to 480. Middle East 50% at 10% less than current price, right. So, 640 by 80 into 50, 400 lakhs minus 10% of 400 lakhs, right. So, it comes to 360, right. So, now proposed is what? Proposed is 60% local and 50% export, right. So, if we do that, then the total proposed sales will be total of this, it is 840, fine, less the present sales. So, present sale is 640, it is given in the question. So, incremental revenue will be 200 rupees lakh. But for achieving this incremental revenue, how much costs we are incurring? So, differential cost, proposed cost for 110%, right, that is 60% local sales plus 50% export to Middle East. Direct material will increase, right. So, direct material will increase by 275, right. Direct expenses will increase to 110, right, and variable expenses will increase by 55. Fixed overhead, it will be remain same 260 plus additional capacity 40 lakhs. So, it comes to 300, right. So, if I add this, it comes to 740 less the present cost is 580. So, my differential cost is 160 lakh. So, if I accept the proposal, my revenue is increasing by 200, my cost is increasing by 160. So, ideally I should accept, right. Now, the concept is what, idea is what, when you are getting a proposal, right, and you have two options, then see that in these two options, how much, where you are getting higher revenue, right, and where you are for higher revenue, generally you need to incur a higher cost. So, higher revenue minus higher, it will give you incremental revenue, and the differential between the revenue and cost, where it is higher. If it is giving you a better profit, then you accept it. If it does not give you better profit, then you reject it. Okay. So, that is the rule. Okay. Incremental revenue of rupees 200 lakh exceeds the differential cost of rupees 160 lakhs by rupees 40 lakhs. So, offer from Middle East should be accepted. It may be remembered that offer should be accepted only if there is a prospect of receiving similar orders in future also. Otherwise, the cost of additional facilities added to augment the output will become a burden on the future profit. Yeah. So, now we need to see while accepting or this such type of offer, that whether it is sustainable for a longer run. If it is sustainable in the longer run, then because it requires additional investment in terms of fixed cost, right. So, it must be used in longer run, right, otherwise that capacity will remain as idle, which is not a desirable situation. So, based on that, we can take a call that this order may be accepted. Okay. So, this was the second problem. Third problem, we are coming to the third problem, right, on decision making. Again, the export orders. X Limited, having an installed capacity of 1 lakh units of a product, is currently operating at 70% utilization. At current levels of input prices, the FOB unit costs after taking credit for applicable export incentives work out as follows. So, if the capacity utilization is 70, then FOB unit cost is 97. If it is 80, then it is 92. If it is 90, then 87. If it is 100, then it is 82, right. The company has received 3 foreign offers from different sources as under. Source A, 5,000 units of rupees 55 per unit FOB. Source B, 10,000 units at rupees 52 per unit FOB. Source C, 10,000 units at rupees 51 per unit FOB. Advise the company as to whether any or all the export orders should be accepted or not, right. This is again a problem of accepting or rejecting export orders, right. Let us see the solution. So, again what we will do, we will calculate the differential costs under the different options. Statement showing differential costs at different capacity utilization levels, and if what is 100% capacity, it is 1 lakh units, right. This is my 100% capacity. So, capacity utilization percent, I have taken the option 70, 80, 90, 100, and production at different levels of capacity utilization I can calculate. So, it is 1 lakh is the 100% capacity. So, of course, it will be 70,000 here, 80,000 at 80%, 90,000 at 90% and 1 lakh at 100%. So, FOB unit cost I can calculate 97, 92, 87 and 82, right. Total costs, total cost I can calculate by multiplying this, right, 70,000 into 97. So, it will come to 67 lakh 90,000, sorry, 67 lakh 90,000, 73 lakh, sorry, 73 lakh 60,000, 78 lakh 30,000 and 82 lakh, right. If I take the difference, I will get the differential cost. So, 73 lakh 60,000 this minus 69 lakh 67 lakh 90,000, it comes to 5 lakh 70,000, right. Similarly, 78 lakh 30,000 minus 73 lakh 60,000, it comes to 4 lakh 70,000. 82 lakh minus 78 lakh 30,000 is coming to 3 lakh 70,000, right. Now, what is the differential cost per unit? So, this is my differential cost, right. What is the differential cost per unit? I can calculate it, right. So, 5 lakh 70 by 10,000 into 57, right. 4 lakh 70 divided by 10,000 into 47 and 3 lakh 70 divided by 10,000 is coming to 37. So, my differential cost, you see, it is 57 here, it is 47 here and it is 37 here, okay, right. Now, so now we let us look at, that the statement which is showing profit or loss on accepting the various export orders, right. So, there are three sources, right, it is already mentioned there are three sources, one is A, second is B and third one is C, right. So, the export order I can calculate like this, export order first one is 5,000 from A, second is 10,000, third one is 10,000. So, total is 25,000 here, right. And capacity utilization is first one 5,000, it is 75 here, 85 and 95, right. Differential cost, it is how much? So, here you see whether any or all export orders should be accepted or not. This is my question. Source A is 5,000 units at 55, source B 10,000 units at 52 and source C 10,000 units at 51, right. So, I can do it like this, right. So, I am taking the differential cost, the first one is 5,000 units. So, company it is already working at 70% capacity. So, additional 5,000 means its capacity will go up to 75%, right. And 75, what is the price? 57, right. And total, if you calculate the amount, differential cost is 2,85,000. So, FOB price per unit it is 55. So, sales revenue from export order it is 2,75,000. So, there is a loss, 2,85,000 is the cost, 2,75,000 is my incremental revenue. So, my loss is 10,000 rupees, right. For export order source B, the number of units is now 10,000, right, and then the capacity utilization will go up to 85, right. So, then what will have first 5,000 units being up to 80% at 57, next 5,000 units will go at the rate of 47, right. You see, we calculated here, it is 47, right. So, it will go up to 47. So, it is 5,20,000 total, and price per unit it is 52, right. So, the revenue will be 5,20,000. So, my profit will be nil, right, because differential cost is also 5,20,000 and my incremental revenue is also 5,20,000, right. If we consider now the export order source of C, right, it is also of 10,000 units. The percent, this utilization percent will go up to 95%, right. So, first 5,000 units being up to 90% at rupees 47, next 5,000 units at 37. So, if you calculate, it comes to 4,20,000. FOB price per unit is 51, sales revenue is 5,10,000 and my profit will be 90,000. So, total, right, total export order it is 25,000 if we consider, right, and capitalization if we make it 95%, then my profit is coming to 80,000. Okay. So, it is clear from the above statement that it is advantageous for the company only when it accepts all the export orders. If the company accepts export orders only for one or two of the three sources, it will suffer a loss. Therefore, the company should accept export order from all the three sources to earn additional profits, right. So, we discussed the decision making for process for export orders in these three problems. So, what should be the approach whenever this type of export order export possibility of export comes, right. Many a times it comes at a price which is lower than the domestic market. So, when it comes at a at a price which is lower than the domestic market, then the first thing we should do is what? We need to see that what is the incremental cost we are incurring, right. Now, this incremental cost should be accompanied with an incremental revenue. So, this incremental cost and incremental revenue has to be compared, right. If this is positive, right, then prima facie we can accept these orders, right. If it is, if we see that it is the costs are more, the incremental costs are more and the incremental revenue is less, then we may consider rejecting, but there are many subjective factors also which influence such decisions, right. Like for example, if the company wants to penetrate a new market, right, then at initial stage it may agree to accept the offer, right. If the company feels that in the longer run it will help help in developing the market share, this loss is is short term and it will help the company to build a brand in a virgin market, then the company may accept the proposal even if the incremental revenue may be slightly lower than the incremental cost. But it has to be ensured that it should be it should not prolong for a long term, then it will be a question of sustainability, right. So, this after considering these issues, right, there may be some social issues also, right. So, after considering these issues, all the factors, both quantitative factors as well as qualitative factors, usually the company takes a call that whether an export order needs to be accepted or it needs to be rejected for the time being. Okay. Thank you.